What if we told you there are people who look and live like characters from another dimension? Some were born with rare conditions. Others had amazing talents or lives that sound like fiction. From towering giants to the most striking faces, these individuals defy everything we think we understand. Their stories are shocking, uplifting, and sometimes even heartbreaking. So join us for today's video, as we're going to look at 15 people you won't believe existed till you see them. Number 15. Valeria Lukyanova. Let's start with a lady who made herself into something else entirely. Valeria, known around the world as the living Barbie. Valeria transformed her body to resemble the iconic doll in nearly every way possible. She claims much of her appearance is natural, and that she only underwent breast augmentation, but one look is enough to raise questions. Her face, body proportions, and overall appearance seem far beyond anything natural. While she stands by her statements, her look tells a different story. Her transformation has earned massive attention, not just because of how she looks, but because of the philosophy behind it. She has spoken openly about her beliefs, which are just as unconventional as her appearance. Sadly, she's not alone. Other women have followed the same path, going to extremes to become human dolls. Valeria's story isn't just about surgery. It's about chasing a fantasy at all costs, no matter how far it takes you. Number 14. African Monkey Boy. Some conditions aren't just physical, they come with a lifetime of ridicule. That was the reality for a young boy living in an African village who was mocked by locals and called monkey because of how he looked. While most people distanced themselves, his mother didn't see anything wrong. To her, Zanziman Ellie was a miracle. After losing 5 children before him, she had prayed endlessly for a child who would live, and she got her wish. Despite his facial abnormalities and disabilities, she never viewed him as anything less than perfect. His story eventually gained attention, and the world responded. Donations poured in, bringing him and his mother some financial relief and even local fame. He was no longer just the monkey boy, he became a symbol of survival and love. For a woman who had lost so much, that one boy meant everything. And to Zanziman, having her by his side was more than enough to keep going. Number 13. Evan Fasciano. This one needs a bit of warning, because Evan Fasciano was born with a skin condition that's almost impossible to believe, and definitely not in a good way. His disorder causes his skin to grow at 10 times the normal human rate. That might not sound too bad at first, but what that really means is that layers of thick skin constantly build up, covering his entire body like armor. His skin scales over itself non-stop, and if it's not cleaned off properly and regularly, it hardens. That makes everyday life painful and even dangerous. His parents have to bathe and scrub him daily to keep him comfortable and functional. His condition also makes him extremely vulnerable to infections, overheating, and chronic dehydration. And still, Evan faces it all with a bright attitude. His parents don't treat it like a burden. They just want him to live a life filled with joy. Number 12. Mahogany Geeter. This one might catch you off guard. Geeter looks like an average woman from the waist up. But below that, you can't miss it. Her left leg alone weighs over 100 pounds. She has a chronic condition called lymphedema, which causes lymphatic fluid to collect and swell up parts of the body that can't properly drain it. In her case, most of the swelling is centered in her leg, but other areas are also affected. From childhood, she's had to live with extreme physical pain, limited mobility, and constant stares. Her condition requires lifelong physiotherapy and specialized massages just to keep her body from shutting down. But instead of retreating into the dark, Geeter decided to own it. She became a model. She now uses her platform to talk openly about body positivity, confidence, and inner strength. Her leg may be heavy, but the way she carries herself shows just how powerful self-acceptance can be when you stop apologizing for who you are. Number 11. Sam Burns. Well, you might remember the movie Jack, where Robin Williams played a child aging rapidly. It felt fictional, but Sam Burns lived a version of that for 100% real. Sam had progeria, a rare genetic condition that made his body age at an abnormal speed, while his size and frame stayed that of a child. While the film gave Williams a comedic super-aging arc, Sam's reality was far more serious. At just 17, his body functioned like someone several decades older. Still, he didn't slow down. He played drums in a school marching band, stayed active, and kept a sharp sense of humor. A documentary called Life According to Sam captured his world and caught the attention of the New England Patriots, his favorite football team. They were set to make him an honorary captain at a game, but tragically, Sam passed away before that day came. Number 10. Amare Stover. Well, one of the scariest things a doctor can tell you is that you have a tumor. It's almost always associated with cancer and often brings terrifying outcomes. But in Amare Stover's case, it wasn't just that he had tumors. It's that they were everywhere. His condition caused tumors to grow across his entire body, including inside his face. As the tumors spread, they began to distort his facial features so much that people often assumed he was wearing a mask. But this was no costume. It was his 100% real face. The growths interfered with almost everything: his vision, his breathing, and even his ability to speak clearly. What makes his case even more heartbreaking is how young he was during it all. And yet, he kept pushing forward. His condition may have altered his appearance, but not his will to live. Amare Stover didn't choose what happened to him, but he faced it head-on, even when the world looked away. Number 9. Claudio Vieira de Oliveira. If you think your life is hard, this one might leave you speechless. Claudio Vieira de Oliveira from Brazil was born with an extremely rare condition that caused his head to grow in the opposite direction, completely upside down. His neck is permanently twisted backward, forcing his face to rest against his spine. He can't lift his head into an upright position. This is just how it formed, and how it stayed. Doctors told his mother to expect the worst and said he likely wouldn't survive. But Claudio kept living. And not just surviving, he started thriving. Despite limited mobility in his limbs, he learned how to use a computer with his mouth, went to school, became a public speaker, and even gives motivational talks. While he still struggles physically, he's fully capable of eating, breathing, speaking, and living independently. The condition never defined him. It just made his path harder. But he stayed on it anyway and built his life around it. Number 8. Zion Clark. Throughout this entire list, you've seen people defy their physical conditions, and Zion Clark might just top that. Born without legs due to a condition called caudal regression syndrome, Zion had every reason to give up, but he never even considered it. From an early age, he focused on building his upper body to incredible strength. He learned to move on his hands with speed that most people couldn't believe, and used that strength to become a competitive wrestler and MMA fighter. He's even been recognized by Guinness World Records, including one for the fastest 20-meter handwalk. Zion has always refused prosthetic legs, saying they made him feel less like himself. He didn't want to hide or fix anything. He just wanted to live on his terms. Now he's a global speaker, athlete, and a symbol of grit without excuses. For Zion, limits don't mean stop signs. They're just challenges, and he's already crushed more than most ever will. Number 7. Tress Johnson. Some of the conditions on this list are hard to process, and Tress's story takes that to another level. Tress was born with a genetic disorder linked to the Sonic Hedgehog gene. Yes, that's the real scientific name. But instead of granting him comic book powers, it caused a rare facial duplication. Due to a skull defect, Tress developed two faces, one layered on top of the other. The sight was so shocking that even his parents were overwhelmed. Doctors warned that any physical contact could lead to trauma, so his parents weren't allowed to hold him normally. Medical teams even offered to let him go, assuming he wouldn't live long. But Tress's family refused. They stayed with him through countless surgeries, sleepless nights, and judgmental stares. Year after year, he proved doctors wrong by surviving. His parents still deal with emotional challenges, but they never gave up. To them, Tress isn't a condition. He's their son. Number 6. Nick Vujicic. Nick Vujicic was born without arms or legs, just a small foot with 2 toes. His condition, tetra amelia syndrome, is extremely rare and affects limb development in the womb. When he was born, even his parents couldn't cope at first. They left the hospital in shock, unsure of what to do. But over time, they embraced Nick, and so did he. He underwent surgery to separate his toes and learned how to do nearly everything on his own. That includes brushing his teeth, writing, typing, and swimming. As he grew older, Nick didn't just survive, he thrived. He earned a double degree, got married, had kids, and became a global motivational speaker, known for his raw honesty and humor. He never let his physical state define him. In a world obsessed with perfection, Nick lives proof that your worth isn't based on what you lack. It's what you do with what you've got. And Nick? He's done more than most ever will. Number 5. Joseph Merrick. You've likely heard the nickname the Elephant Man before, but the man behind that title, Joseph Merrick, had a name, a history, and a life far more complex than any label. Born in Leicester, England in 1862, Joseph developed severe physical deformities by the age of 5. His right arm and leg became massively oversized, and thick, tumorous growths overtook his face and skin. Abandoned by his father, he eventually joined a freak show where he was marketed as a monstrous curiosity. But Joseph wasn't a monster. He was intelligent, polite, and deeply thoughtful. Later in life, he was taken in by London Hospital and treated with care by Dr. Frederick Trevis. He became somewhat of a celebrity, even receiving visits from members of royalty. He died at just 27 years old, likely from the weight of his skull dislocating his neck as he slept. Joseph wasn't just the Elephant Man. He was a human being, trapped in a body the world feared. Number 4. The Turtle Boy. Now we move to a boy whose life was reshaped by something he never asked for. Didier Montalvo from Colombia was nicknamed Turtle Boy, not because of how he moved or behaved, but because of a massive shell-like growth that covered most of his back. It wasn't a tumor or birthmark. It was an enormous congenital melanocytic nevus, a type of mole that had grown completely out of control. At its worst, it made up nearly 20% of his total body weight. His condition was so severe that he struggled to walk or play, and people in his village often avoided him, fearing he was cursed. The nickname stayed with him, and the emotional weight hit almost as hard as the physical one. But hope arrived in the form of a UK surgeon who offered to operate. After a difficult surgery, the growth was removed. Didier now lives without the burden on his back. Number 3. Larry Gomez. You might think the idea of a wolf man belongs in fiction, but for Larry Gomez, it's real, and it's genetic. He was born with a condition called hypertrichosis, which causes thick hair to grow over nearly his entire body. Around 98% of his skin is covered in dark hair, including his face, making him resemble a real-life werewolf. Growing up, he was constantly bullied, mocked, and avoided. At one point, he even tried to hide himself from the world. But over time, he began to accept his condition and stopped treating it like a curse. Instead of hiding, Larry stepped into the public eye. He was recognized by Guinness World Records as the world's hairiest man, and eventually found love and got married. When asked how he manages, Larry simply says he doesn't know any other way to live. This is just who he is. And honestly, that level of self-acceptance is something most people never reach. All right, guys, now let's head over to number 2, the Cyclops baby. This story has no uplifting ending, only heartbreak. In India, back in 2018, a couple gave birth to a baby girl with a severe birth defect that left her with just one eye, positioned in the center of her forehead. Even more devastating, she was born without a nose, leaving her with only her mouth to breathe through. Despite the deformity, the rest of her body was completely normal. Doctors acted fast, moving her to a special care unit to monitor her condition and keep her alive. But it wasn't enough. Without a proper airway, her body couldn't keep up. She passed away just 7 hours after birth. It later came to light that her mother had worked in mercury-contaminated mines, something doctors believe may have contributed to the rare defect. It wasn't a random twist of fate. It was a devastating reminder of what exposure to toxic environments can do, especially to the most vulnerable lives, before they even begin. Number 1. Sarah Gertz. We're ending this list on a powerful note with the story of Sarah Gertz, a woman who not only embraced her appearance despite a rare disorder, but stepped into the spotlight to challenge beauty standards. Sarah was born with a connective tissue condition that causes her skin to appear severely wrinkled from the neck down, a trait usually seen in the elderly, but hers developed by age 10. The same condition left her bones extremely fragile. Instead of hiding, Sarah submitted her story to a body positivity campaign called Love Your Lines. That single step turned everything around. The campaign gained massive attention, and soon after, Sarah became a model, proudly showing the world that beauty doesn't vanish because of a medical condition. She now celebrates her body exactly as it is, wrinkles and all. What began as a personal struggle turned into a statement of self-worth that's inspired thousands. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe.